If you have tinnitus, this probably sounds familiar. You're sitting in a restaurant, you hear laughter, plates clinking, the soft murmur of music, chairs maybe scraping on the floor, and then someone at your table starts talking. But it's like their words just get swallowed up in all the noise. You nod, you smile, but inside, you're struggling trying to keep up. You're not imagining this, and you're not just tired, and your ears are not broken. In fact, a new study just found something surprising. Even if your hearing test looks normal, tinnitus can still disrupt how your brain processes sound, especially in noisy environments.
If you're navigating hearing loss or struggling with ringing in your ears, then you've come to the right place. The All Ears Hearing and Tinnitus podcast is your go-to source for expert insights, real stories, and cutting-edge solutions in hearing health. We'll dive into the latest advancements in hearing healthcare, explore groundbreaking treatments for tinnitus, and offer practical tips for better hearing. Here to help you tune into a world of better hearing, here's your host from Timpanogos Hearing and Tinnitus, Dr. Lane Garrett.
Hi, I'm Dr. Lane Garrett, founder of Timpanogos Hearing and Tinnitus in Utah, and we've been helping patients with tinnitus for over 20 years. And today, we're diving into why so many people with tinnitus find background noise overwhelming, even when their hearing test looks normal. We'll explore the science, why this happens, and what you can do if you feel like you're drowning in sound every time you're out in public. Let me introduce you to Mark. He's a high school teacher who developed tinnitus a few years ago. He said, "By the time I get to lunch, I'm just completely drained. The cafeteria is so loud, and trying to have a conversation with a colleague there while students are laughing and the dishes are clinking, it's like my brain just gives up." He described it as trying to listen through a blizzard of noise, and despite a hearing test that looked normal, he knew something wasn't right. A new study published in Frontiers in Neuroscience looked at this hearing and noise problem with tinnitus. They looked at two different groups. One group had tinnitus, the other group didn't, but all of them had normal or near normal hearing based on standard audiometric tests. But when the background noise was introduced, the differences were hard to ignore. Now, I'll be honest, as a doctor of audiology, we used to assume that when people reported they had a hard time hearing in noise with tinnitus, it was because of the subtle damage in their auditory system. Sometimes that damage just wasn't showing up on traditional hearing tests. But this study made it clear there's a lot more going on. The researchers found that people with tinnitus reached their discomfort threshold where sound becomes overwhelming 10 decibels earlier than those people without tinnitus. And even more importantly, they scored significantly lower on speech and noise tests. In other words, their ears were technically normal in quiet settings, but once background noise came in, their ability to follow speech dropped dramatically. This confirms what many of us in tinnitus care have only recently begun to understand. Tinnitus doesn't just affect what you hear, it affects how your brain processes sound. So why does this make things so much harder for people with tinnitus? Well, imagine your brain as a soundboard operator at a concert. If your ears stop sending certain frequencies, your brain doesn't just sit back and do nothing. No, it actually turns up the volume. That's called increased central gain, and it's your brain trying to compensate for reduced input coming from the ears. But here's the problem. When everything is turned up, your brain starts amplifying everything, including background noise and the ringing. Now imagine trying to focus on a single voice at a party while someone cranks up the knob on that soundboard to maximum. That's what it's like for someone with tinnitus in a noisy place. It's not a hearing problem, it's processing overload. If you're finding this helpful, please hit like and subscribe. I share new insights each week on tinnitus and hearing loss and how to navigate the world of sound without being overwhelmed. Here's why this issue is so misunderstood. A standard hearing test only measures your ability to detect tones and understand speech in quiet. They don't tell us anything about how you do in noise. They don't reveal how fast sound becomes uncomfortable, and they don't show the extra cognitive load tinnitus puts on your brain. That's why so many people are told your hearing looks normal, when clearly they're struggling in real life. At Timpanogos Hearing and Tinnitus, we go way beyond the standard hearing test. We evaluate how your brain copes with noise, not just how your ears hear in quiet. If noisy environments are overwhelming with your tinnitus, there is hope, because the brain that's turning up the volume can also learn to turn it back down. In our clinic, we use therapies like tinnitus-specific hearing aids that boost clarity and reduce the contrast of internal tinnitus noise. Sound therapy to help your brain tolerate background noise more comfortably. Neuromodulation tools like Linear that guide the brain towards calmer processing patterns. And hearing rehabilitation programs such as Lace AI, which trains your brain to improve focus and speech understanding in noise. Combine that with counseling, mindfulness, and personalized strategies, you can now reduce how much noise affects you with your tinnitus. Now let's circle around to Mark. After we developed a specific tinnitus plan for him, including sound therapy and hearing rehabilitation with Lace AI, and taught him some tools how to manage sound environments, he told me he could finally sit in the cafeteria and have a real conversation without feeling like he was under attack from every single direction. If walking into a restaurant feels like you're stepping into chaos, if you've ever smiled through a conversation while quietly panicking inside, you're not alone, you're not broken, and you don't have to live with the constant overwhelming feeling. Tinnitus doesn't just make noise annoying, it can make it unbearable, but you can retrain your brain. You can regain calm, and you can reconnect with the people and moments that matter most. If you're in Utah, I'd love to meet you. Come visit us at Timpanogos Hearing and Tinnitus, where we specialize in helping people like you find peace in sound again. We'll listen to your story, test how your brain handles noise, figure out where the tinnitus is coming from, and create a plan that helps you feel confident and comfortable again. If you're not local, or if you're not quite ready for an appointment, you just want to start learning more, you can go to our website and explore our free learning center. You'll find real answers, real hope, and the latest treatments that are changing how we understand tinnitus. Because sound shouldn't be the enemy. It should be the bridge back to your life. Thanks for watching, and remember, you're not alone on this journey.
A world of better hearing and relief from tinnitus is within reach, and we're here to help. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast right now and join us on the journey to clearer sound and a richer life. Thanks for listening to the All Ears Hearing and Tinnitus podcast with Dr. Lane Garrett. We'll see you next time.